How do I define racism?
You first.
It has this synonym as the discrimination.
Obviously, the standard definition would be discriminating against somebody based on their skin colour or nationality.
Fear of the unknown?
And I think racism is a very big problem.
Racism is always create hatred among the people.
When it comes to racism, I can see that unfortunately it's everywhere. In some extent it's everywhere.
Racism, in my understanding, can be defined as an unfairly, an ill and irritating treatment given by a person to another fellow human being.
I think it's the ugliest thing in the world.
But unfortunately, it can sometimes go a little bit deeper than that. It can sometimes be something that the person is not at fault for because they've had it instilled in them by their parents.
For me, racism is like don't have respect for others. For me, racism is like you are selfish, like you care about just yourself, and do you think there is more different than you?
And I would consider it a part of a larger issue of discrimination, a part of a bigger puzzle.
Well, sometimes people take it a little bit more deeper, speaking from personal experiences, going culturally as well. So not just in terms of your skin color, but also in terms of your belief system and your different belief systems regarding sort of wherever you may be from, and religion comes into that as well.
Yeah. Fear of unknown for me. I mean, other people are different, and people never met other people from different color. And from different nation, with skin of different color, and I don't know, different traditions. People fear of them, perhaps. And so that's very easy.
That's where it comes from, yeah. For me, I think the definition of racism is treating people differently because they have a different background or a different culture than you have, or than you understand or believe is right.
And it's about like, I wouldn't say like so formal definition. It's more about like how people treat others in a different way, and how these unequal things happened, and it's based on lots of area. It really depends on what kind of situation and then how you define it. But like in general, it's just like the unequal situation.
And I don't know why people hate each other for these reasons.
You mean the character?
Well, first of all, they're human.
To me, I didn't see any characteristic of a person, but
from my experiences, they're kind of rude with everyone, and they don't really accept people, and they think that they can joke about everything, and they don't think that they may be hurting someone.
Racist person always try to neglect the people. They always try to be so much superior attitude.
Well, yeah, I mean, being discriminatory against someone else without trying to understand where they come from, what they've been through, trying to understand their culture, trying to understand them as a person. So just complete ignorance towards someone else's culture, being discriminating against them without understanding what they've been through or where they've come from.
I will say somebody without, how you say, valores.
szerintem kicsit ilyen, szóval hogy magukat többet adják másoknál, és ez egy ilyen, szerintem az önbizalmukat akarják talán feljebb emelni ezzel.
She thinks that they are big-headed people who trying to embrace their personality based on hurting other people.
Who doesn't have respect about the others, meaning about the color, I'm sorry to say that, about the colors, about the language, about how you look, about what are you wearing for. But yes, for me this is about it.
I think a person is already a racist when he treats his fellow human being unfairly or unjustifiably, which happens to be that the person is not from his region, or even maybe they're not from the same country or even a tribe. Because even the racism cannot be, it's not just maybe the blacks or maybe say the whites treating the blacks unfairly.
Okay, well, basically I think those people who cannot, either they consider themselves as more important or have in the higher position than others. That's why they start to think about, okay, I don't wanna be in the same treatment with others. They wanna just think they are more important. They own the higher position, and then they just don't want to be treated as equal as others.
They have a definite sense of their own culture and a definite sense of themselves versus the other, like people who are from my group and people who aren't.
Yeah, I'm glad you used the word ignorance, because that was the first thing that came into my mind. I think also it's a short-sightedness of not realising that exposing yourself to other nationalities, cultures and things like that can make you grow as a human. I think a racist generally believes that they're already superior to everybody else, and therefore these other cultures, nationalities, religions have nothing to offer them.
Or treating them unjustifiably for no reason, or the blacks doing the same thing. A black person can also treat a fellow black person in a racist way. Maybe if the person is not, for instance, maybe they're not from the same country. We have black Americans, I can be a Nigerian, and maybe the black American can treat me in a very bad way. And also, somebody who happens to be white, maybe an American or a European, can treat someone from Asia badly or unfairly just because the person is not from Europe or from his own region. So I don't think there's any definite characteristic of a racist. Once the person does not treat the other individual like a fellow human being, or doesn't treat him like a human being, or treat him unfairly or unjustifiably for no reason, that person is already a racist. It's bad, very, very bad.
Definitely bad. I mean, for the oppressing part of people, it's good and beneficial for them, but at what cost? So I think racism is fundamentally bad, and I would even go further and say it's evil, fundamentally evil.
No, I think it's bad, like in terms of the unequal treatment.
Yes, I find racism bad, and it doesn't really make sense to discriminate someone based by their skin color. I mean, we are all humans, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Bad all the time.
Yes.
Obviously, I would say that racism is bad.
I think it's bad.
Also, I believe racism is bad because, like, in no matter how you need to hate somebody based on skin color, because in generally, if you see the human history, you can say we are all mixed in one way or another. So it doesn't make any sense.
Because I think we shouldn't hate each other just because we're different and just because we're from different countries.
Well, I mean, you look at the connotations of the words we just used while describing a racist. We're using ignorant and short-sighted and lack of understanding. Those things, discriminatory, I mean, those things are not just related to race. If you use those adjectives to describe anybody, then that is not the kind of person that I would like to be around. I'm sure it's not the kind of person that most people would like to be around.
No one you want to associate yourself with in the slightest.
Exactly.
It's bad because a lot of people have died because of being treated, because of their skin color, because of where they come from. It's also very bad because people are being treated unfairly. They're not even given jobs just because they're not from that country, and they keep on bringing so many unreasonable policies just to disqualify them. And so people are already depressed, frustrated. Some are already giving up in life because of, there are so many cases of people who have died because of the racial treatment that they receive from other individuals. So it's very, very bad. There is no benefit or anything in racism.
It's not very useful for anything. I can't think of any situation where it's useful. I just don't think it's.
Look, it is useful for some when certain, governments or some authorities find it useful to be hateful, then racism is useful for them, and that's how they. But originally, it's not useful at all.
Yeah. And I don't think it's good.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Because the people, unfortunately, then they don't feel confident with themselves. Everything you say, for example, why you don't wear this color that is better for your color? This is done. Why they don't feel confident with it, But I think it's personal feeling how you want to feel it. For example, you're right. I think you don't need to wear shorts, but why? I feel good with myself. Okay, you would say, okay, why you don't wear white things? Because you are black. I said, what do you mean in black? I feel good with myself. That is the meaning about the I feel good, or depends of the people, what they are saying, or how the people is confident with themselves. I think so.
I also consider it a major threat to world peace because it, along with all other forms of discrimination, feeds into a larger cycle of hate and violence that will serve to further destabilize our relations on a global scale.
It is really hampering our the proper development of our human being, and it is also create the hindrance to establish a good harmony and peace among the people. And whenever someone face the racist activity, they always feel loneliness, and also so it also create mental destruction, mental depression among them, and it is not for good for psychological development. So, and as well as also for a sustainable social development, we must need to avoid this kinds of racism activities, and we also understood people that how could this can be a negative impact on our society.
If you don't respect, the basis of every society, in my concern, is that you need to respect. Doesn't matter your ideology, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter whatever, you just need to respect. You don't care about sexual things, you don't care, you just respect. You are you, I love you and respect your things. I don't care about your ideas, you still be my friend, and that's it. You are still like a person. I don't care what you think, what you are, just I respect you because you're a human, that's it.
Mindig az okok, amiktől valaki rasszista.
Some sort of things actually makes someone racist. Religion is the one of the best of them.
So, I mean, racism comes from a certain kind of education. I mean, training people to fear of others or to hate others who are different, and because they told them how to handle others. So, I mean, it's
people who've
taught.
been indoctrinated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think originally people who never met people from another country, speaking another language, having other color of skin or looking different, people are not afraid of them. You know, they are curious basically, but then they are trained for hating others or treating them differently, then they will become racist.
I think it's the upbringing that you inherit from your parents and your family and your social surrounding, that you just learn how to hate, and it's kind of disgusting and also very sad, because if you learn to hate, why don't you learn to love in the first place?
Well,
What we've already covered, isn't it?
yeah, that, or to add what we've sort of covered already, is being very close-minded.
And I think one of the factors that makes someone to be a racist is influential behavior, or will I say when someone is being influenced, because we all know that humans are being created to be nice and to be good to their fellow humans. But as time goes on, they tend to be influenced by people who are already racist. You can hear some other people it's not something new, that whenever you go to, sometimes you find people telling the other person that don't talk to this person, don't help this person, don't do this to this person. And the reason, when you ask them why, the reason are so funny. They'll just tell you, can't you see she's an Asian, he's an Asian, he's black, she's not from us. So all those minor things, if I might put them that way, are some of the factors.
From what I've seen, I mean, you get very wholehearted people living in smaller communities, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as soon as there's some sort of change, there's some sort of difference that's sort of opposed in a big way. So where I'm getting to is people grow up in a certain way, grow up in a certain community, they're not really exposed to change, exposed to anything like that. And so when change comes, then they sort of don't conform to it. So if you grow up in a city, I tend to find like people aren't as racist because there's a lot of different races living around them, a lot of different people they tend to be with, versus growing up in a small town. So I've gone off a bit of a ramble, sort of forgotten the question, but generally what I was getting towards is being close-minded generally leads to something that's sort of not worldly in that sense. More open-minded people tend to be more inviting, more open towards everyone, no matter your race, your religion, your personality.
I think families can be in these factors too, like
Sok ilyen, tudod, ilyen tipikus előítélet, ami beépül,
and yes, society and the pressure of all of these things.
Experience. If you have only experienced a sort of small, if you have only ever experienced your own culture and you've never met anybody else been anywhere else to see that things are different in other places, then you think that your way is the only way, and yeah.
I think it's an artificially fabricated issue as well. Not fabricated like as it is not existing, but for some people it's worth keeping racism alive and not to break the circle of hatred. Because if you learn to hate a certain group of people, this will also give you a sense of entitlement and a sense of superiority, which is, I think, very toxic. And I also think that for each person, regardless of their upbringing, it's our duty to unlearn these streams. For example, I came from a small town. I saw a lot of racist oppression even from my peers, and yes, it took me job to unlearn these ways, but I had to, because this is not a good thing to have. Like, this is not a healthy mindset to have. When you're a racist, you automatically have a very flawed mindset, in my opinion.
Society, how I say it, society, stereotypes, magazines. Yes, totally. I don't know, I guess friends.
I think you almost never hear a quiet racist. If racists open their ears more and close their mouths more, then I think that they would start to understand the value of the person standing in front of them, rather than just what they look like or, you know, their particular belief system. So when you're talking earlier about characteristics of a racist, that for me is one of the ones that has always really shocked me. Coming from the UK and having to go through Brexit, which was, a lot of it was founded on racism. It was anti-foreigner, and most of the Brexiteers that I met didn't want to hear the point of view of anyone but themselves. If you didn't support them, you were against them. There was no grey area. It was all black and white. And on a societal level, black and white thinking is dangerous. You have to have that grey area, you have to have that area for discourse, you have to be able to talk about things. If you just stick rigidly to your beliefs, regardless of what they are, whether it's racism or whether it's something else, and you're not open to other people influencing you and making you a better person, then you're never going to grow. And a society without growth is a dead society, in my opinion.
It really depends. Maybe some people, they think they contribute to the more venues for the world, or for their work, or for whatever. Like, then that's why they wanted it to be treated differently, or like it's all about their personalities. So it's the cost gonna be lots of costs. So it's hard to generalize in one point.
Some factors actually really influential to have someone very behave like racist. Religion is one of them, and it has no boundary, and whenever you go somewhere, you will get some sort of people from your religion or from other religion, and so people, or when people someone is not on their own religion, they find it negative, and they try to behave racist way.
I think I've already mentioned that building up fear or some strong negative emotions in people through some well-designed, politics. I mean, it's basically politics, and that has a reason why to make people racist. So there is something behind it, and that's how people will become racist. I mean, if you put some kids together from different races, from different cultures, they don't even know each other's language. The little kids, they will play pretty soon. I mean, within minutes together, happily. And so there will be any sign of racism, I'm sure.
I think that you can get a job.
Hurting other people's feelings. Yes, it's not good.
Yes, hurting them feelings, and in the end they can do something bad for them that they think that is good for them. but
Yeah.
yes.
Active life physically is like not good. I think it's the last step to the bad.
The people who experience racism from a very early age tend to internalize this behavior, and this results in them, as can be seen very commonly in Hungary, forming self-isolated communities, which then naturally tend to be segregated and excluded from, for example, housing opportunities and afterwards job opportunities, which of course results in a major wealth gap among the races. And this, of course, as has been proven, that poverty has a strong link towards crimes, tends to even further exacerbate tensions and issues with race relation.
Well, it's a really big problem, like a worldwide problem, because people can't live in peace because of racism.
The most important negative factors of racism is it creates the imbalance, social imbalance, and actually the minority people, those who are live in a society, when they face the racism, they cannot do their own effort for their best potentials, and they also face difficulties to have a good normal life in a society. And especially racism always create the division in our society, which is a big problem to have a good sustainable social system, establish a good sustainable social system. And whenever someone face racism, or in a society whenever we can see the racist activities or racism is available, and people cannot trust each other, people always feel so much discrimination, and they always also feel depression, and they cannot have a good sort of relationship with their neighbors, and it is kill their trust, and it is they try to be so much violent in their activities, and it is hamper the social security and social peace and harmony.
Yeah, I would say it will cause the huge psychological difference for the people, because they are feeling it's like it's a different treatment, and it's not equal, and it also depends on the person. If the person is on the benefit side, then they might like it, but if the person is not on benefit from it, then they're gonna be kind of feel like there's huge psychological difference, and then maybe they will start to feeling the bad feelings, and then yeah, it's really different, because like nowadays in our whole world, nothing can be really in the equal point. But like if it's really depends how person thoughts. Like I would say I would keep in the middle point. I wouldn't think. I would always to think, but not to really just try to criticize it or blame it for the life, how these unfair treatments. But like I think I'm kind of in the middle attitude with it.
It can lead to death. It can lead to frustration. Okay, let's say, when I say it can lead to death, some people, when you tend to racially abuse them, you have already killed them emotionally, when psychologically they're already depressed. They're already fed up with the things in this life. And when you talk to them in a racial manner, they can just feel as if the world is not meant for people like them, because they feel that they are the minority in the society. So they feel that they can't achieve anything. You have already shattered their dreams. You have already completely, psychologically, emotionally, will I say, kill them.
I think the most negative part is that it starts very early. It starts at elementary school. Like you can see how the teacher favors the white-skinned rich little children compared to the minority children, like Romani children or less than fortunate children coming from less than fortunate social situations. and this will teach them how they are inferior, which will grow the children even more apart as time goes. So from the very first moment they go into a society, they will see that they are treated inferior, and this I think this is the worst, to teach children that they are born less than equal to others, and this will shadow them for all their lives, and I think that this is horrible.
Economic divide, I think jobs, hiring, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think overpopulation, some tensions in society. It's very easy to give an answer for economic and other problems to choose a group of the nation, of the country, as alien, different, somebody who's not part of the nation, and then generating hatred. You know, that's what actually led to massacres and you know, all these nasty things. And it's not a very ancient thing. It's
Happening today.
happening now. It happened even in Europe, just a couple of hundreds of kilometers away in Bosnia, you know, and just less than 30 years ago. And it's happened in Asia, in many countries, in Africa, you know, Hutu, Tutsi, whatever, you know.
Like slavery times.
Well,
But
another
it's
example
happened
would
like
be
20 years ago.
in Canada, the residential schools. I mean, they only ended in the 90s.
And racism
that's
is
very, very recent. In the 90s, that's like really not that long ago. And you know, and recently they found 215 bodies of children who were taken away from their parents to be taught how to not be natives. And
But-
that's happening in Canada, like, and recently, like now, and that's yeah.
Hungary is no exception, okay? I mean, it's even killing people from other groups. I mean, Hungarians, I mean, Hungarian gypsies, Hungarian Roma. It happened.
Different races.
I mean, it's like not the majority, so minority people. So but racism is there in society, even in Hungary, and it's really strong, and it's getting stronger because people are manipulated, and that's really sad. People have experiences, and you know, it's fueled by propaganda and certain groups, political groups, and it's just
Nationalism
disgusting.
over national pride.
But you know, these are lies actually. So, but it's sad. I mean, it's very sad for me.
The other thing I think is that a lot of people get suicidal ideas in a very early age.
I think certainly systematic racism, like where it's built into systems. I think injustice.
Not really. I never.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think so.
You know what? I will admit to being very close. When I was very young, I was in a college where anti-white racism was okay. Because in the UK there's a lot of reverse discrimination. You know, white people cannot be discriminated against, or that's how I was made to feel. And I remember going into an area of my college and being told, "Get out, white boy." And at that point I felt racial discrimination for the first time. And when you feel someone attacking you, the thing that you do, the thing that you feel is, I'm going to kick back against this. And it took all of my upbringing and all of like, how would my family feel about this, to stop me kicking back and saying, well, if you can call me white boy, then I can start throwing slurs at you. Bear in mind at this point I was 16. But since I started travelling, I've been the victim of racism on a few times, but the temptation to fight back is not there, because now as a more well-rounded person, I pity these people as opposed to having that knee-jerk reaction.
Actually, from my beginning, from my study period, I always try to avoid these kinds of activities, and I studied a lot about it, and I know how much bad it can be for human being, for our society. So I always try to avoid this kinds of racism behavior. Whenever I try to see someone doing the racism behavior, I try to understood them this is not bad and try to avoid this. I try to make them understood that how it could be bad sometime for them too. So I never ever try to do any kind of racist behavior. Whenever I see someone, I try to treat them as a human being, not based on their religion, culture, or not based on their gender. I always try to treat them equally and try to have the best from them.
Yeah, with Christianity, yes, I did. I unfortunately, it's kind of racism, I believe in not by the skin color, but I told one of my friends that I don't want to be friends with you because your religion accepts pedophilia.
I mean, behaved in a racist way. Happened.
Probably.
Can you tell us if you remember?
Some racist jokes, or happened.
I can't think of a specific instance. I do remember, like when I was in grade 1, we had one black kid in our class, and I do remember making comments about him being the same color as his chocolate pudding, and that was in grade 1, and I still remember it to this day, and I still feel bad about it to this day. And it was kind of an innocent thing. It wasn't like any kind of hate. Like, I didn't dislike the guy. It was just like a comment that I made like in grade 1, and I still remember it to this day.
I've never done any racist behavior or show any racist attitude, no.
I also, I cannot say I'm proud, but I can say I'm proud because I overcame this. But as I said, I came from the small town, and I didn't even realize for a very long time how normalized racism it was. Like in the everyday speech, like in jokes, like in like ways of speeches, like in little proverbs. It was everywhere, and I didn't realize it for a very long time. And once I did, it started to feel like so disgusting whenever even my family members cracked the joke or something like that, even at the dinner table or something. And some members of my family called me like a smart ass or a sore pass for over this, but I always say that, hey, this is not funny. If your humor is only working because you are joking on people who has worse than you, then you are not funny at all. You are just a racist. And yeah, I, as I said before, I had to unlearn some of these ways. Those were ingrained in my family, in my upbringing as well. But thankfully, not only my eyes opened, my mom changed a lot as well. So I think it is a micro success.
Yeah, I think myself inadvertently coming from South Africa, where apartheid and the history is pretty open. But also, I mean, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a very loving, caring family, where my friends and peers, so it's weird to say now, but you're racist without knowing it. So the society you grow up in comes back to what I was saying earlier with the closed-mindedness. Society you grow up in, it's the norm to cast a blind eye against someone that needs help, or like certain words used for certain people. But as you grow older, as you grow wiser, you sort of realize that that's not okay to use certain words, that's not okay to act in certain ways. And so you realize, okay, well, we have to educate the other people to be more open-minded, to be more inviting, to be more culturally aware, to be more aware of everything that goes around you. So yes, I would say I've been racist in the past, but it wasn't. It was more without me actually knowing. The understanding. I mean, you're too young. It's the way everyone around you acts. So
it's good that you changed.
Yeah, yeah. It's not it's the norm. That's what happens, especially in South Africa where it's still so segregated. I'll almost say more segregated than it was during apartheid.
Oh, that's a big statement.
It's,
I mean, I've never been there,
yeah,
but that's a big statement.
yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Look at the camera.
Oh, sorry. Oh, God. So I also believe that I have made somewhat racist remarks and jokes in the past quite nonchalantly without particularly realizing it or the consequences. I think generally... Oh, God.
Sorry, Eurovision. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Something really serious.
Go on, go on.
And I, in elementary school, I actually do believe to have bullied a kid based on their heritage, which is one of the darkest parts of my life that I am not very fond of recalling. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily realize the impact of your actions until you actually grow up enough to realize.
Hogy csináltál-e bármi rasszistát valaha?
Hát cigányokkal kapcsolatban voltak előítéleteim kisebbként, és akkor...
Az előítéletet nem tudom, hogy fordítsam.
Ez egy jó kérdés. Nem tudom, szóval, hogy mindegy, hogy kicsiként engem úgy neveltek, hogy volt, hogy nem voltam annyira elfogadó, de hogy azóta fejlődtem.
Okay. When she was little in her family, they were afraid of gypsies, and as she grew older, she learned that she doesn't have to be afraid of them, or yes, and she learned that they can be kind too.
Wow, I don't believe to have been on the receiving end of racism a particular lot.
Being witness, someone treat someone else.
I don't think. Oh wait, actually, I have one example of a sort of racist sentiment towards Hungarians specifically. Namely, when we went to Austria, there was a shop which had a sign in front of it saying, "Don't steal Hungarians."
Oh God.
Yeah.
It was very interesting when I moved to Japan. I lived in Japan for 5.5 years, and in Japan there is a very passive and subtle racism, where foreigners are always foreigners.
Gaijins.
And yeah, and they are treated a little bit differently. It's very subtle, and it takes a while to kind of notice it even, but it was an eye-opening experience for me because as a white male Canadian, I never had to deal with anything like that until I moved to Japan, so that was an eye-opener.
I was never treated in a racist way, I'm not like that James experienced in Japan, but being fat, wearing glasses, being smart in a different way, that's how things also.
So discrimination, but not
Discrimination,
not
racism.
Yeah, that was sort of. I was a bit disappointed. One of the first conversations I had here with someone, and I said, "Well, I'm from South Africa," and I was, "But are you really though?" And I was like,
I remember that
yeah.
conversation.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm from South Africa, but are you really African?" Well, according to everything I've been through, my family's been there for a long time. I've grown up there. Yes, I'm African. It's my family. It's where I'm from. And I was actually walking with a Nigerian guy, someone who I've become really good friends with. And he came to my sport. He goes, "No, he's my African brother. Like we grew up there. Oh, Ghana and South Africa, obviously. Nigeria and South Africa, obviously, very far apart. But we're African. It's who we are. Just because my ancestors came in the 1820s, still African. Later that
And
night,
then they started singing African songs together, and everybody else was like, "What is this?"
we're singing
Oh,
African
okay,
songs
cool.
and dancing and having a great time. She goes, "Oh, you really are African?"
Bear in mind that this came from an African
Yes.
girl.
No,
It was Lorna.
yeah.
She's Syrian.
Yeah. And I was just sort of like, why the judgment? There's no need for.
That being said,
Anything
though,
like that.
there was no offence in it. It was
No,
more ignorance.
yeah.
I mean,
But I took a bit of a slight bit of a.
I'm sure
yeah,
you did.
Yeah.
But there was no. I don't think there was any intent in it.
Yeah.
Like, it goes back to that ignorance that we talked about earlier on. Sometimes people are inadvertently racist.
Yeah.
They don't
And-
realise they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll make ridiculous comments like, "You're from such a place, you must do this." I've been told that I'm not British because I don't drink tea. Like, I just don't like it. But you're British, you must drink tea. Now, they don't see, I mean, I don't see that as a racist comment. But someone more sensitive might turn around and say, "So you're assuming that because I'm British, I am this way."
Hogy bármikor is csináltak veled bármi rasszista dolgot?
Hát nekem volt, hogy ismerkedtem egy cigány sráccal, és aztán amikor megtudta, hogy nem vagyok cigány, akkor vált. Szóval, hogy az nem tudom, hogy hagyott.
Okay. She tried to get to know a boy, and he stopped talking to her because she's Hungarian.
I also saw a lot of racism as I was growing up. Hungarians were being acting very bad against gypsies, and I'm half Jewish, and my friends too were making fun of me a lot of times, of my family. And
Yeah. So there's a thing of reverse racism now in South Africa's context, because everything a white person says is now considered racist. But in South Africa's context, being the minority, I mean, if you look at the population, we have mixed race, 10% white, 10% black, 80%. So that was the whole thing about apartheid, where you had the white minority controlling the majority, which was obviously ridiculously wrong. So now, because of apartheid, because of the history, everything white person says is considered racist. But if it's reversed, it's fine. We can get any what's now considered racial slurs thrown against us. But because we're the minority now, or have always been, it goes under the radar.
Can I just add something
Yeah.
in there, which is that I've had it kind of thrown in my face that for however many hundreds of years, white people ruled over other races, and now I should accept that that was my fault. It's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with any of my family that I know of. But I actually had a girl here accuse me of being responsible for slavery, which was the most ludicrous comment ever. But I mean, I managed to laugh it off and make a joke out of it. But there are people that genuinely believe that the white race are responsible, and therefore it's okay to kind of say what they want to young people like us. And so that for me is a very, very racist comment.
Yes, I was once treated in a racial, or let's say, someone has ever demonstrated or shown a racist behavior towards me. I remember when I entered a tram and an aged lady was sitting, and I tried to sit close to her, and the look on her face tell me that it's like she doesn't want me to sit close to her. So because when I tried sitting close to her, she stood up and moved away to the other side of the chair completely. This is a chair that can contain like 3 to 4 persons, but she literally stood up to sit, and the looks on her face showed to me that she's a racist.
Being hated, being discriminated, being bullied, you know, can build up a certain kind of sensitiveness, you know, regarding things such as racism. And if you experience this and you didn't react with anger and hating others because of something, but you understood how things work and how stupid these things are, probably you are not gonna be racist. Or,
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I've learned.
It changes your perspective. If you've experienced any kind of discrimination, then you can look at something that's maybe a little bit deeper and, as you say, harder to change. It's easier to have a different perspective on it, perhaps.
But in Hungary now, yeah.
Or acknowledge how it plays out.
But in Hungary, the other thing is, you know, treating homosexuals or people with different sexual orientation, and you know, it's at the higher political levels now. It's a very, very hot issue. It's here, you know, and you know, actually I don't know whether I have homosexual friends, but I mean, there are people with problems because this is very hard for them here in Hungary.
But to also answer your question about have I ever been a victim of racism, yeah. I lived in South Korea, and South Koreans are very much, the Korean race is the single greatest race. I mean, I witnessed eugenics on the front of a newspaper which was written in English, where one of the reporters said that particularly white foreigners should not be allowed to breed with Korean women because it pollutes the royal Korean bloodline. Now that is eugenics. That's going back towards Nazism when you start talking about pure blood and things like that. But I experienced it in my own school. I was the only foreigner. Weiguk is the word they use. I was the only Weiguk in the school, and I got into a disagreement with a Korean co-teacher. East Asian culture is all about saving face, and I caused my co-teacher to lose face. So 2 or 3 of them decided that, right, we're going to get this guy back. And I had my classroom taken off me. I was forbidden from bringing my own Western food into the school. I was forbidden from taking a taxi into work because it might get in the way of the Korean teachers' cars. And even something as simple as a mobile phone contract. If you were a foreigner, you had to go in person to top up your phone. You couldn't do it digitally or anything like that. You had to actually go into a shop, which was only open Monday to Friday 9 to 5. So if your phone credit ran out on a Friday evening, you were without the use of your phone until Monday, when you could get into. But that was because you're not Korean. They would actually say to us, "This is because you're not Korean." And when you brought it up that that's racist, they couldn't believe that was the word I was using. It was astonishing.
Final thing.
Be nice to people, guys. Really.
Please.
Seriously. Yeah.
I believe that we need to separate the political intent behind a lot of racism in our media from the actual human element of the experience. Because here especially, but I've noticed this trend quite a lot worldwide as well.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, honestly, I don't get. I mean, I see where people come from racism, but my dream is that everyone just gets along with one another. There's no need to be angry at each other, to relent one another for the simple thing of we come from different cultures. Yes, cultures are never truly going to get along because there's always going to be cultural differences if you look at what's going along in the world at the moment. But to get to the agreement to agree to disagree and to try live in society where everyone can at least just understand one another and there's no blind hatred for another because of what one's ancestors done. If you look at everything that's going on in the Middle East, if you look at everything that's happened back home in South Africa, if you look at everything you were saying that's happening in Korea, wherever you go, just that everyone can enjoy one another company, and we can sit down and have a universal, I don't know, dinner without having someone bring up some sort of political fight.
I just think that we should all accept each other and love each other to be in peace and everyone can be happy. Milyen végső szavad van, hogy hogyan tegyük boldogabbá a világot, meg így jobbá rasszistaság nélkül?
Szerintem, hogy fel kell ismerni azt, hogy nem vagyunk jobbak senkinél, és hogy mindenkinek ugyanolyan hibái vannak, vagy pozitívumai.
She thinks that we should learn that we're not better just because we're different, and we should all accept each other.
Yes. Well, I would like to say that racism has done a lot of damage to the society. It's so bad that you hardly see two individuals or a group of persons living together without having a problem of racial attitude from the other person. It's so very, very hard. No matter how much they claim or they tend to love each other or to work as a team, they must show a sign of racist behavior, and it's very, very bad. So I think the governments, institutions, private organizations need to work hard to make sure that they put on, hand must be on decks to make sure that they fight it. If not, it's going to cause a lot, not only to society but to the world.
Well, I'd like to share a couple of things. Two of the best experiences of my life. I'm an English teacher, as I said, and I taught in the UK, where students would fly in from all over the world. And generally, there were certain nationalities that were overrepresented. There were a lot of people from the Gulf, Saudis, Kuwaitis, and so on. There were a lot of Chinese. But I was lucky enough to end up in a group where it was very multinational. And I took them out on a night out in Manchester, and I looked around the table, and there was me and one other teacher who were English. And I think there were about 9 of us around the table. We were the only 2 that shared a nationality. And it was a beautiful experience because everyone was just getting along. You wouldn't have known, if apart from the way that people looked, if you'd looked at the interactions that were going on, you would never have known that there were 8 different nationalities around that table. Similarly, something that happened not too long ago here, I organised a picnic. And as we're all coming out of lockdown, it's been really hard for us not being able to socialise. So I said, okay, I'm organising this picnic. And it felt like each different person that arrived had come from a different country. And I actually commented on it at one point. I'm like, wow, another national. And I didn't count, but I looked around and was kind of going, oh, that person's from Ghana, and that person's from Bangladesh, and that person's from France, and that person's from Colombia. And again, it was just nice to see a bunch of open-minded people say, hey, you know what? We don't care where these people are from. These are good people. We're having a good time with them. And there was absolutely no conflict. And I think if everybody could be more like that, and I think being an expat is part of it. When you're an expat, when you leave your own country and you go and become a part of an expat community, it has the capacity to really change you. But just being in those multicultural events and being around people that don't care where you're from, they judge you on whether you're a good person, whether they enjoy your company or not. That for me, in an ideal world, is the way that everybody would be. Sadly, not everyone's like that.
You first.
Anything to add?
No, not really, just respect. That's it. I think it's a base of every society, to be honest. I was always thinking about that, and really, just respect. Doesn't matter what. I mean, she like water, I don't like water. She like coffee, I don't like coffee. I like you, I respect you, and that's all.
Exactly.
No problems. That's it. Oh, I love you